The diamond necklace caught the light as Evelyn fastened it around her neck, completely unaware that the man watching her through the security camera feed 3 floors above was about to lose every shred of control he'd spent 34 years building. Kang Min-ho's hand crushed the glass of whiskey he'd been holding, amber liquid and blood mixing as shards embedded in his palm. His dark eyes fixed on the screen showing his assistant wearing another man's gift. Something primal and possessive exploded in his chest, a feeling so intense it felt like dying and being reborn simultaneously. And in that moment he knew with terrifying certainty that Evelyn belonged to him, only him, and he would destroy anyone who dared put their hands on what was his. Welcome to Afrokorean Central, besties. Please like, share and subscribe. Min-ho pressed the intercom button with his bleeding hand, his voice coming out rougher than intended. Miss Brooks. My office. Now. Evelyn's heart jumped at the sound of his voice through the speaker. She'd been his executive assistant for 8 months, and she'd learned to read every nuance in his tone. Right now he sounded dangerous. She glanced at the necklace her friend had given her for her birthday, the delicate silver chain with its small diamond pendant, and wondered why her stomach was twisting with anxiety. The elevator ride to the executive floor felt longer than usual. Evelyn checked her reflection in the polished doors, smoothing her burgundy dress over her curves, tucking a strand of her natural hair behind her ear. She'd worn it down today instead of in her usual professional bun, and now she wondered if that was a mistake. Min-ho's office occupied the entire top floor of Kang Industries, a sprawling space of floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul, dark furniture, and an atmosphere that screamed power. He stood with his back to the door when she entered, staring out at the city below, his broad shoulders tense beneath his tailored black suit. You called for me, Mr. Kang? He turned slowly, and Evelyn's breath caught. His face was a mask of cold fury, but his eyes burned with something else entirely. Something that made her skin flush hot despite the air conditioning. Who gave you that necklace? The question was so unexpected that Evelyn blinked. I'm sorry. The necklace you're wearing. Min-ho's voice was deadly quiet as he moved toward her, each step measured and predatory. Who gave it to you? Evelyn's hand flew to the pendant instinctively. My friend Marcus gave it to me for my birthday. Why? Something flickered across Min-ho's face, too fast to read. Marcus. Yes, he's a colleague from my previous job. Or friends. He always gives thoughtful gifts. Evelyn frowned, confusion mixing with a strange flutter in her chest at the way Min-ho was looking at her. Is there a problem, Mr. Kang? Take it off. Excuse me. Take off the necklace. Min-ho stopped directly in front of her, so close she could smell his cologne, something dark and expensive that made her dizzy. Now. Evelyn's stubborn streak flared to life. With all due respect, Mr. Kang, what I wear outside of work hours is my personal business. Marcus is my friend, and this was a birthday gift. I have no intention of taking it off just because you don't approve. The next few seconds happened in a blur. Min-ho reached out, his fingers brushing her neck as he unclasped the necklace with surprising gentleness despite the fury radiating from him. Evelyn gasped at the contact, electricity shooting through her body at the touch of his skin against hers. No man gives a woman jewelry unless he wants something from her, Min-ho said, his voice low and dangerous as he held the necklace up between them. And no man gives my assistant jewelry without going through me first. Your assistant. I'm not your property, Mr. Kang. You don't own me. Don't I? The question hung in the air between them, loaded with meaning. Evelyn's pulse raced as Min-ho stepped even closer, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. His jaw was clenched, a vein throbbing in his temple, and she realized with shock that his hand was bleeding. Mr. Kang, your hand. I don't care about my hand. Min-ho's free hand came up to cup her face, his thumb tracing her cheekbone with shocking tenderness. Tell me you don't feel this. Tell me you haven't noticed the way I watch you, the way I find excuses to keep you late, the way I can't focus on anything when you're in the room. Evelyn's breath came in short gasps. You're my boss. This is inappropriate. I know. Min-ho's forehead dropped to rest against hers. His breath warm against her lips. I've tried to ignore it. Tried to keep my distance. But seeing you wearing another man's gift, knowing he touched you, even just to fasten that necklace around your neck, it broke something inside me. Min-ho. Say my name again. His thumb moved to her bottom lip, pressing gently. Not Mr. Kang. Just my name. This is wrong, Evelyn whispered, but she didn't pull away. Couldn't pull away. I work for you. There are rules. Rules I'm about to break. Min-ho's mouth hovered a breath away from hers. Tell me to stop. Tell me you don't want this, and I'll let you walk out that door. But if you stay, if you let me kiss you, I won't be able to let you go. You'll be mine, Evelyn. Completely mine. Every rational thought in Evelyn's head screamed at her to leave, to maintain professional boundaries, to protect her job and her heart. But her body had other ideas, swaying toward him like a flower toward the sun. I should leave, she said, but her hands were already fisting in his shirt, holding him close. Then leave. Min-ho's lips brushed hers, feather-light. Walk away. Forget this happened. Evelyn closed the final distance between them, pressing her mouth to his in a kiss that felt like jumping off a cliff. Min-ho made a sound low in his throat, something between a groan and a growl, and suddenly his arms were around her, crushing her against his chest as he deepened the kiss with an intensity that stole her breath. She'd been kissed before, but never like this. Never with such desperate hunger, such raw need, such absolute possession. Min-ho kissed her like he was drowning and she was air. His hands tangling in her hair. His body hard and demanding against her curves. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, reality crashed back down. Evelyn stepped back, her hand flying to her swollen lips, her eyes wide with shock at what they'd just done. I need to go, she said, her voice shaking. I need to think. Evelyn. Please, Min-ho. I just need some space to process this. She practically ran from his office, leaving him standing there with her necklace still clutched in his bleeding hand, watching her go with an expression of mingled triumph and frustration. The next morning, Evelyn arrived at the office early, hoping to avoid Min-ho until she'd sorted through the chaos of emotions swirling inside her. But when she sat down at her desk, she found a box waiting for her. A large, elegant box wrapped in silver paper. Her hands trembled as she opened it, revealing a necklace that made her gasp out loud. Diamonds and sapphires formed an intricate pattern, the craftsmanship exquisite, the value clearly astronomical. A card lay beneath the necklace, written in Min-ho's bold handwriting. If you're going to wear jewelry to work, it should be worthy of you. This is appropriate. The other one was not. Wear this one instead. That's not a request. Evelyn's first instinct was outrage. Who did he think he was, buying her expensive jewelry and giving her orders? But beneath the anger was something else. A flutter of pleasure at his possessiveness, a thrill at being claimed so boldly. She was still staring at the necklace when Min-ho's office door opened and he emerged, looking as immaculate and controlled as ever. No sign of yesterday's passionate breakdown except for the bandage on his hand. Good morning, Miss Brooks. His voice was perfectly professional, but his eyes burned when they met hers. I trust you found my gift. Mr. Kang, I can't accept this. It's too expensive, and it's not appropriate for an employer to put it on. I'm not going to. Put it on, Evelyn, or I'll do it for you. And if I touch you again, we both know what will happen. The threat hung in the air between them. Evelyn's fingers moved to the necklace almost of their own accord, fastening it around her neck with shaking hands. The weight of it felt significant, like a collar, a claim, a promise. Min-ho's eyes darkened with satisfaction. Better. That's how you should always look, wearing things I've given you, marked as mine. I'm not yours, Evelyn said, but the protest sounded weak even to her own ears. Yes, you are. Min-ho moved closer, his hand coming up to trace the line of the necklace where it rested against her collarbone. You've been mine since the moment you walked into this office 8 months ago. I just didn't realize it until yesterday. Min-ho, we need to talk about boundaries. About what's appropriate between an employer and employee. You're right. His thumb traced her pulse point, feeling it race beneath his touch. Which is why you're not my employee anymore. As of this morning, you're officially listed as my executive partner with a significant raise and equity in the company. Now we're equals, and there's no inappropriate power dynamic. Evelyn's jaw dropped. You can't just promote me to get around professional ethics. I can do whatever I want. I own this company. Min-ho's smile was dangerous and beautiful. And now I own you too. Nobody owns me. Then let me rephrase. You own me, Evelyn. Every thought, every heartbeat, every breath. I'm yours completely. And I intend to make you mine in every way that matters. Before she could respond, the office door burst open and Marcus walked in. His smile bright and friendly. Evelyn. I was hoping to catch you before. Oh. He stopped short, taking in the scene before him. I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were in a meeting. Min-ho's entire demeanor changed in an instant. He moved to stand between Evelyn and Marcus, his body language radiating threat despite his pleasant expression. Marcus, isn't it? Evelyn's mentioned you. That's right. Marcus extended his hand. Marcus Chen. I'm an old friend of Evelyn's. I was actually hoping to take her to lunch today to celebrate her birthday properly. Her birthday was last week. Min-ho ignored the offered handshake, his voice dropping to something cold and dangerous. And she has lunch plans. With me. I didn't know that, Evelyn interjected, but both men ignored her. Marcus's smile faltered slightly. I'm sure she can spare an hour for an old friend. She can't. Min-ho's hand moved to Evelyn's lower back, possessive and claiming. Her schedule is completely full. Every hour of every day. Indefinitely. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. Evelyn stepped between them, her hand on Min-ho's chest. Marcus, thank you for thinking of me, but Mr. Kang is right. Have a very busy schedule. Maybe another time. Marcus looked between them, something clicking into place in his expression. I see. Well, I hope you're wearing the necklace I gave you. It took me forever to pick out. Min-ho's jaw clenched so hard Evelyn heard his teeth grind. She's wearing appropriate jewelry now. Your gift has been disposed of. Min-ho, Evelyn said sharply, squeezing his arm in warning. But the damage was done. Marcus's expression hardened. I think I understand what's happening here. Evelyn, if you need anything, you have my number. After he left, Evelyn whirled on Min-ho. That was incredibly rude. Marcus is my friend. Marcus wants to be more than your friend. Any man with eyes can see that. You're being ridiculous. And possessive. And jealous. Min-ho pulled her close, his arms locking around her waist. I'm being jealous, Evelyn. Insanely, irrationally jealous. The thought of another man touching you, giving you gifts, making you smile. It makes me want to destroy things. You don't have the right to be jealous. We kissed once. That doesn't make me your property. Then let me earn the right. His forehead pressed against hers. Let me take you to dinner tonight. Let me show you that I'm not just some possessive boss who wants to control you. I'm a man who's falling for you so hard and fast it terrifies me. Evelyn's resolve wavered. One dinner. But this doesn't mean. It means everything. Min-ho kissed her forehead, her cheeks, the corner of her mouth. And by the end of tonight, you're going to admit that you're mine. Just as I'm yours. That evening, Min-ho picked Evelyn up from her apartment in his black Mercedes, looking devastatingly handsome in a dark suit. He opened her door himself, his eyes roaming over her red dress with obvious appreciation. You're beautiful, he said simply, and the sincerity in his voice made her heart flutter. Dinner was at an exclusive restaurant with a view of the Han River, the kind of place where reservations required months of notice. Min-ho had apparently bought out the entire restaurant for the evening, giving them complete privacy. This is excessive, Evelyn said as they were seated on a private terrace overlooking the water. Nothing is excessive when it comes to you. Min-ho poured her wine, his movements graceful and controlled. I want your attention completely on me, not worrying about who might be watching or listening. As they ate, Min-ho asked her questions about her life, her dreams, her fears. He listened with an intensity that made her feel like she was the only person in the world who mattered. And slowly, despite her better judgment, Evelyn found herself opening up to him. I moved to Seoul because I wanted adventure, she admitted over dessert. I wanted to prove that I could build a life in a completely foreign place, that I was strong enough to be independent. You're the strongest person I've ever met. Min-ho reached across the table to take her hand. And you've proven it every day since you started working for me. The way you handle difficult clients, the way you never back down from a challenge, the way you stood up to me yesterday. You're extraordinary, Evelyn. You don't know me well enough to say that. Then let me know you. Let me learn every part of you. Let me be the man who gets to see you at your worst and your best and everything in between. Later, as they walked along the river, Min-ho's jacket draped over Evelyn's shoulders against the cool night air. She felt herself falling despite all her defenses. Why me? She asked suddenly. You could have anyone. Models, socialites, women from your own world. Why are you so fixated on your assistant? Min-ho stopped walking, turning to face her. Because you don't want anything from me. You don't care about my money or my power or my name. You challenge me, frustrate me, make me feel things I've spent my entire life avoiding. You make me want to be a better man. I'm not sure I'm worth all this intensity. You're worth everything. He pulled her close, his hands framing her face. And I'm going to spend however long it takes proving that to you. When he kissed her this time, it was slower, deeper, more devastating than before. Evelyn melted against him, her arms wrapping around his neck, her body fitting against his like she'd been made for him. Come home with me, Min-ho murmured against her lips. Let me show you how much I want you. Evelyn knew she should say no. Knew she was crossing a line that couldn't be uncrossed. But when she looked into his eyes and saw the raw need there, the vulnerability beneath his confident exterior, she found herself nodding. Min-ho's penthouse was exactly what she'd expected. Sleek, modern, expensive, with floor-to-ceiling windows and minimalist furniture. But she barely had time to take it in before he was pulling her close again. His mouth on hers. His hands roaming over her curves with barely restrained hunger. Evelyn! He breathed against her neck. Tell me you want this. Tell me you want me. I want you, she admitted, and the words felt like surrender and victory all at once. Min-ho lifted her easily, carrying her to his bedroom, laying her down on silk sheets with a gentleness that contradicted the fierce desire in his eyes. What followed was a night of passion that left them both breathless and changed, their bodies learning each other with desperate intensity, every touch a claim, every kiss a promise. Afterward, as Evelyn lay wrapped in Min-ho's arms, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on her bare shoulder, reality began to creep back in. What had she done? She'd slept with her boss, crossed every professional line, let herself fall for a man who could destroy her career and her heart with equal ease. I can hear you thinking, Min-ho murmured, pressing a kiss to her temple. Stop overthinking this. What we have is real. What we have is complicated. Evelyn sat up, clutching the sheet to her chest. I should go. Don't. His hand caught her wrist, his grip gentle but firm. Faye, wake up with me. Let me make you breakfast and prove that this isn't just physical for me. Min-ho, I can't. I need to think about what this means for my job, my future, Your future is with me. He pulled her back down, rolling over to cage her beneath him, his eyes intense. I know you're scared. I'm scared too. But running won't change what's between us. You're my boss. This is exactly the kind of scandal that ruins careers. Then let it ruin mine. I don't care. The only thing I care about is keeping you. But fear was already wrapping around Evelyn's heart. In the morning, while Min-ho was still sleeping, she slipped out of his apartment, leaving only a note that said, I'm sorry. I need space. The next few days were torture. Evelyn called in sick, unable to face Min-ho, unable to reconcile her feelings with the reality of their situation. Her phone buzzed constantly with his calls and messages, each one more desperate than the last. "Evelyn, please answer. We need to talk. You can't run from this. From us. I'm not letting you go. You can hide for as long as you need, but I'll wait. I'll always wait for you." On the third day, someone knocked on her apartment door. Evelyn opened it to find Min-ho standing there, looking haggard and desperate, his usually perfect appearance disheveled. "You left," he said, his voice raw. "I woke up and you were gone. I told you I needed space." "Space?" Min-ho laughed bitterly. "You disappeared. You won't answer my calls. You're acting like what we shared meant nothing." "It meant too much." Evelyn's eyes filled with tears. "That's the problem, Min-ho. I let myself fall for you, and now I don't know how to separate my feelings from reality. You're my boss. You have all the power. How do I know this is real and not just..." "Just what?" "Just me using you." Min-ho stepped inside, closing the door behind him. "Is that what you think? That I went to all this trouble, that I changed your employment status, that I bought out an entire restaurant and spent 3 days going insane with worry, just to use you? I don't know what to think. This all happened so fast." "Then let me make it simple." Min-ho pulled a small box from his pocket, and Evelyn's heart stopped. "I'm not proposing. Not yet. But I'm making a promise." He opened the box to reveal a ring, delicate and beautiful, with a single perfect diamond. "This is a promise that I'm serious. That you're not just an affair or a conquest. That I'm choosing you, publicly and completely. And I don't care who knows it or what they think." "Min-ho, I can't accept that. It's too much, too fast, too real." He took her hand, his thumb stroking across her knuckles. "You're scared because you feel what I feel. You're scared because you know that if you let yourself love me, there's no going back. But Evelyn, I'm already there. I'm already all in. The only question is whether you're brave enough to take the leap with me." Tears streamed down Evelyn's face as she looked at this powerful, dangerous man who was offering her his heart with such vulnerable honesty. "What if this doesn't work? What if we destroy each other? Then we'll rebuild together." Min-ho pulled her into his arms. "But I don't believe that's what will happen. I believe we're going to be extraordinary together." "You're so certain." "I've never been more certain of anything in my life." Evelyn took a shaky breath, then held out her hand. "Put it on." Min-ho's smile was brilliant as he slid the ring onto her finger. Then he was kissing her, deep and claiming, and Evelyn let herself fall completely, trusting that he would catch her. They were so wrapped up in each other that neither of them heard the window shatter in the bedroom, or the footsteps of the men who had broken into her apartment. It wasn't until a rough hand grabbed Evelyn's arm and yanked her away from Min-ho that they realized they weren't alone. "Well, well," a voice said in Korean-accented English. "Kang Min-ho. We finally found your weakness." Min-ho's expression went cold and lethal as he positioned himself between Evelyn and the 3 armed men now filling her small apartment. "Let her go. Your business is with me, not her. But she's so much more interesting than you." The leader, a man with a scar running down his face, smiled cruelly. "We've been trying to find leverage against you for months. Imagine our surprise when we discovered the great Kang Min-ho had finally let someone past his defenses. I don't know who you are or what you want, but if you hurt her, I'll destroy everything you love." Big words from a man who's outnumbered and unarmed. The scarred man pulled Evelyn closer, and she whimpered as his grip tightened painfully on her arm. "Tell me, does she know what you really are? Does she know about the deals you make in backrooms, the enemies you've crushed, the blood on your hands?" Min-ho's jaw clenched. "Evelyn, close your eyes. Don't watch what's about to happen." What happened next occurred in a blur of violence that left Evelyn shaking. Min-ho moved with lethal precision, taking down all 3 men in seconds despite being unarmed. It was brutal, efficient, and absolutely terrifying. When it was over, He stood over their unconscious bodies, breathing hard, his knuckles bloody. Min-ho, Evelyn whispered, shocked by what she'd just witnessed. He turned to her, and for a moment she saw the true depths of darkness in him. This wasn't just a CEO. This was a man who had lived in violence, who knew how to hurt people, who was capable of terrible things. "I'm sorry you had to see that." His voice was rough as he pulled out his phone, making a rapid call in Korean. "My people will clean this up. We need to get you somewhere safe." Who were they? What did they want? They're rivals in a world you shouldn't have to know about. Min-ho pulled her close, checking her for injuries with gentle hands that had just dealt brutal violence. "But they know about you now, which means you're in danger. I need to protect you. By taking me where? Somewhere secure. Somewhere they can't reach you." Evelyn pulled away, fear and confusion warring inside her. "What else haven't you told me? What other secrets are you keeping?" Min-ho's expression was torn. "Everything I've built, everything I am, it's not clean or simple. I've made enemies, Evelyn. Powerful enemies who won't hesitate to hurt you to get to me. So this is my life now. Running and hiding from people who want to hurt me because I'm with you. Or you can leave." The words seemed to pain him physically. "Walk away now before you're in too deep. I'll make sure you're protected, but you won't have to be part of this world." Evelyn looked at the ring on her finger, then at the man before her. Flawed, dangerous, but utterly devoted to her. "I'm already in too deep. I fell in love with you, Min-ho. And I'm not running." The relief in his eyes was profound. "Then let me keep you safe. Let me show you that I can protect what's mine." Within hours, Min-ho had moved Evelyn to a secure location, a sprawling penthouse with security that rivaled a military installation. His people worked around the clock to identify and eliminate the threat against her, while Min-ho himself barely left her side. "This is insane," Evelyn said, pacing the luxurious living room. "I'm essentially in witness protection because I fell for my boss." "You fell for a man who happens to run one of the most powerful corporations in Asia." Min-ho pulled her into his arms. "A man who has had to make difficult decisions and dangerous alliances to build his empire. But everything I've done to survive, to thrive. And now to protect you. I don't know if I can handle this life. You're stronger than you think." He tilted her chin up. "And you're not alone. I'm with you every step of the way." That night, as they lay tangled together in another impossibly large bed, Evelyn traced the scars on Min-ho's chest, evidence of a violent past he'd never fully explained. "Tell me about these," she whispered. Min-ho was quiet for a long moment. "My father built Kang Industries through legitimate means. But when he died, his rivals tried to take everything. I was 23, newly graduated from university, completely unprepared. I had to learn quickly how to fight, how to be ruthless, how to protect what was mine. You were just a kid. I grew up fast." His arms tightened around her. "I made choices I'm not proud of. Formed alliances with dangerous people. Got my hands dirty in ways that haunt me. But I survived, and I built something my father would be proud of. And now you're risking it all for me. You're worth more than any empire." Min-ho kissed her deeply. "You're worth everything." The next morning, Min-ho's head of security arrived with news. "We've identified the men who broke into Miss Brooks's apartment. They work for the Choi family. It seems they've decided to target you personally." Min-ho's expression went cold. "Then it's time to end this." "What does that mean?" Evelyn asked, dread pooling in her stomach. "It means I'm going to make sure they never threaten you again." Min-ho stood, his demeanor shifting into something dangerous and controlled. "Stay here. Don't leave this building for any reason. I'll be back." Min-ho wait. But he was already gone, leaving Evelyn alone with security guards and her racing thoughts. The hours crawled by with agonizing slowness. Evelyn paced the penthouse like a caged animal, her mind conjuring increasingly terrible scenarios. Every time her phone buzzed, her heart leaped, But it was never Min-ho. Just his security team checking in, their voices professional and distant. By evening she couldn't take it anymore. She called the one number Min-ho had made her memorize. His personal line that he'd promised would always be answered. It rang 4 times before a voice she didn't recognize picked up. Miss Brooks. Mr. Kang is currently unavailable. What does that mean? Where is he? Is he safe? He's handling business. He'll contact you when he's finished. The line went dead. Evelyn stared at her phone, fury and fear warring inside her. She grabbed her jacket and headed for the door, only to find 2 of Min-ho's security guards blocking her path. I'm sorry, Miss Brooks, but Mr. Kang gave explicit instructions. You're not to leave. I'm not a prisoner. Get out of my way. The taller guard's expression was sympathetic but firm. If something happens to you while Mr. Kang is handling the Choi situation, he'll kill us himself. Please just wait a few more hours. Evelyn wanted to scream with frustration, but she could see they weren't going to budge. She returned to the living room, curling up on the couch, her hand instinctively going to the ring Min-ho had given her. Please be safe, she whispered to the empty room. Please come back to me. Across the city, Min-ho stood in an abandoned warehouse facing the head of the Choi family, surrounded by men with guns. Blood already stained his white shirt from the fight that had gotten him here, but his expression remained cold and controlled. You made a mistake, Min-ho said quietly, his voice carrying across the cavernous space. You went after someone under my protection. Now you pay the price. Choi Tae-won laughed, though there was an edge of nervousness to it. Your little girlfriend. She's nothing. A foreign woman you picked up to warm your bed. Hardly worth starting a war over. She's everything. Min-ho's hands clenched at his sides. And you will apologize for sending men to hurt her, or I will destroy everything you've built. Your businesses, your reputation, your family's legacy. All of it will burn. You think you're untouchable, Kang? You think being the legitimate face of your empire makes you any different from the rest of us? We all know the deals you make, the people you've crushed. You're no better than me. You're right. I'm not better than you. Min-ho's smile was dangerous. Which is why you should be terrified of what I'm capable of when someone threatens what's mine. What followed was a negotiation conducted with barely veiled threats and shows of power. Min-ho had brought evidence of every illegal dealing the Choi family had engaged in over the past decade, enough to put Tae-won and his brothers in prison for life. The choice was simple: leave Evelyn alone and maintain their criminal empire, or face total destruction. By the time Min-ho returned to the penthouse, dawn was breaking over Seoul. He found Evelyn asleep on the couch, still in her clothes from yesterday, her phone clutched in her hand. The sight of her waiting for him made something in his chest ache. He knelt beside the couch, gently brushing hair from her face. Evelyn, I'm home. Her eyes flew open, and for a moment she just stared at him, as if making sure he was real. Then she launched herself at him, her arms wrapping around his neck, her face buried in his shoulder. You're okay. You're actually okay. I imagined. Her words dissolved into tears. Min-ho held her tight, breathing in her scent, letting her warmth chase away the darkness of what he'd just done. I'm sorry I worried you. But it's handled. The Choi family won't come near you again. What did you do? What I had to. He pulled back to look at her, his thumb wiping away her tears. I gave them a choice between leaving you alone and losing everything. They chose wisely. Evelyn's hands moved over him, checking for injuries, stopping when she found blood on his shirt. You're hurt. It's nothing. Just a few bruises. The other guys got the worst of it. This can't keep happening. I can't keep wondering if you're going to come back to me in one piece. Her voice broke. I love you too much to lose you. Min-ho went still. Say that again. I love you. Evelyn cupped his face in her hands. I'm terrified of how much I love you. Of how completely you've taken over my heart. But I do. I love you, Min-ho. I love you too. He kissed her desperately, pouring everything he felt into the connection between them. More than I ever thought possible. More than anything or anyone. You're my entire world, Evelyn. They stayed like that for a long moment, just holding each other, both processing how close they'd come to loss. Then Min-ho stood, pulling her up with him. Come on. I need to shower and you need sleep in an actual bed. And then we need to talk about the future. After Min-ho showered and changed, they lay together in the master bedroom, exhaustion pulling at them both but neither willing to let go. I want you to move in here, Min-ho said into the darkness. I know it's fast, but after last night, I can't stand the thought of you being somewhere I can't protect you. This building has better security than most government facilities, Evelyn pointed out. Exactly. And I want you here where I know you're safe. Where I can come home to you every night. Evelyn was quiet for a moment, weighing the decision. Moving in together after only a few weeks of actually being together was insane by any standard. But nothing about their relationship had been standard from the beginning. Okay, she said finally. But I have conditions. Name them. I keep working. Not as your assistant or your partner, but in a role where I actually do something meaningful. I'm not going to be a kept woman who sits around waiting for you to come home. Agreed. I'll create a position for you in our charitable foundation. You'll have full autonomy and a generous budget to make a real difference. And we tell people about us. No hiding, no secrets. I won't be your mistress hiding in the shadows. I was planning to announce our relationship at the company gala next week anyway. Min-ho smiled in the darkness. I want everyone to know you're mine. There's that possessive streak again. You love my possessive streak. Evelyn couldn't argue with that. She did love the way he claimed her, protected her, wanted her with such single-minded intensity. It should have scared her, but instead it made her feel cherished. The next few days passed in a whirlwind of activity. Evelyn moved her belongings into Min-ho's penthouse, slowly putting her own touches on the previously sterile space. Min-ho watched with amusement as she filled the rooms with color and warmth, transforming his cold bachelor pad into something that felt like a home. You're nesting, he teased, finding her arranging flowers in the living room. I'm making this place livable. It looked like a hotel before. It looks perfect now. Min-ho wrapped his arms around her from behind, his chin resting on her shoulder. You make everything better just by being here. The company gala approached quickly. It was the social event of the season, with Seoul's elite business community in attendance. Min-ho had made it clear he was making an announcement, though he'd kept the details vague to everyone except his inner circle. Evelyn spent the day before the gala in a state of nervous energy. This would be her first appearance at Min-ho's side in front of his entire world. She'd be scrutinized, judged, probably criticized by people who thought she wasn't good enough for the powerful CEO. Stop overthinking, Min-ho said, finding her staring into her closet with a frown. You're going to be breathtaking no matter what you wear. These people are going to eat me alive. I'm not Korean, I'm not from a wealthy family. I don't have the right pedigree. You have me. That's all that matters. He turned her to face him. And anyone who has a problem with you has a problem with me. Trust me, they won't risk my displeasure. Your world is so different from mine. Then we'll build a new world together. One where you don't have to fit into anyone's expectations except your own. The night of the gala, Evelyn wore a gown the color of midnight, the fabric hugging her curves before flowing dramatically to the floor. Min-ho had insisted on buying it for her, along with a stunning set of diamond earrings that matched her promise ring. When she emerged from the bedroom, Min-ho's breath audibly caught. You're devastating. I'm going to have to fight off every man in that ballroom. Good thing you're a fighter. Evelyn smoothed her hands down his lapels, admiring how the tailored tuxedo made him look even more dangerous and handsome than usual. We make a good-looking couple. We make an incredible couple. The gala was held at one of Seoul's most prestigious hotels, the ballroom glittering with chandeliers and Seoul's power brokers. Evelyn felt every eye turn to them as they entered, Min-ho's hand possessively at her lower back. "Ignore them," he murmured in her ear. "Focus on me." They made their way through the crowd, Min-ho introducing Evelyn to business partners and colleagues with pride in his voice. Some people were welcoming, others coolly polite, but no one dared to openly disrespect her with Min-ho standing right there. About an hour into the event, Min-ho was pulled away for an urgent business discussion. He hesitated, clearly not wanting to leave Evelyn alone, but she shooed him away with a smile. "I'll be fine. Go handle your business." She was admiring the view from one of the floor-to-ceiling windows when a woman's voice spoke behind her. "So you're the reason Kang Min-ho has been so distracted lately." Evelyn turned to find a stunning Korean woman in a red gown, her smile sharp and her eyes calculating. "I'm sorry, have we met? I'm Lee Ji-won. Min-ho and I were engaged once, several years ago. Before I realized what a cold, controlling man he truly is." Ji-won's smile didn't reach her eyes. "I'm surprised he found someone willing to put up with his intensity. Or maybe you just don't know him well enough yet." "I know him well enough to love him." "Love?" Ji-won laughed. "Min-ho doesn't love. He possesses. He consumes. He'll smother you with his need for control until you can't breathe. Trust me, I barely escaped with my sanity intact." Before Evelyn could respond, another voice cut in. "Ji-won. Still spreading poison, I see." Min-ho had appeared silently, his expression glacial as he positioned himself between Evelyn and his ex-fiancée. "I think you should leave. I'm just having a friendly conversation with your new toy. Call her that again and you'll regret it." The threat in Min-ho's voice was unmistakable. "Evelyn is not my toy. She's my partner, my future, my everything. And if you say one more word to upset her, I'll make sure you regret attending tonight." Ji-won's composure cracked slightly. "You never spoke about me like that. You never looked at me the way you look at her. Because I never loved you. Our engagement was an arrangement between families, nothing more." "But Evelyn," Min-ho turned to look at her, his expression softening. "Evelyn is the one I've been waiting for my entire life." Ji-won's face flushed with humiliation and anger. She opened her mouth to say something cutting, but Min-ho had already dismissed her, turning his full attention back to Evelyn. "Are you okay? Did she upset you?" "I'm fine. Though I'm starting to think I should have a list of all your exes to avoid. There's only one that matters, and you just met her. The rest were meaningless." He took her hand, pressing a kiss to her knuckles. "Come with me. It's time for my announcement." Min-ho led her to the stage where a podium had been set up. The crowd quieted as he took the microphone, his presence commanding everyone's attention. "Thank you all for coming tonight. I have an announcement that couldn't wait." He turned to smile at Evelyn. "For those who don't know, this is Evelyn Brooks. She's brilliant, strong, beautiful, and she's changed my life completely." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. This was highly unusual. CEOs didn't typically make personal announcements at business functions. "Evelyn started as my executive assistant 8 months ago. But she quickly became so much more. She challenged me, pushed me to be better, refused to let me hide behind walls I'd spent years building. She made me want to be the kind of man who deserves someone extraordinary." Min-ho held out his hand to her, and Evelyn stepped forward, her heart pounding. "I'm announcing tonight that Evelyn and I are in a committed relationship. She's not just my partner in business, she's my partner in everything. And I expect everyone here to treat her with the respect and consideration she deserves." The ballroom erupted in whispers and shocked expressions. This was unprecedented. Min-ho had always been intensely private about his personal life. But he wasn't finished. "I'm also announcing that effective immediately, 20% of Kang Industries' annual profits will be donated to charitable causes through a new foundation that Evelyn will direct. She's passionate about education and opportunity, and I want to support that passion in every way possible." He turned to face her fully, ignoring the hundreds of eyes watching them. "I love you, Evelyn Brooks. And I don't care who knows it. Then, in front of Seoul's entire business elite, he kissed her. Not a chaste peck, but a deep, claiming kiss that left no doubt about the nature of their relationship. When they finally broke apart, the ballroom was completely silent. Then, slowly, applause began to build. Not everyone was clapping. Some faces showed disapproval or calculation, but enough people were supporting them that Evelyn felt a weight lift from her shoulders. "You're insane," she whispered as they left the stage. "That was the most dramatic declaration I've ever witnessed. I wanted to make a statement. Now everyone knows you're untouchable. Anyone who comes after you comes after me." The rest of the evening passed in a blur of congratulations and thinly veiled curiosity. Some people were genuinely warm, others clearly skeptical, but Min-ho stayed by Evelyn's side the entire time, his hand never leaving her back. As they finally left the gala and climbed into Min-ho's car, Evelyn released a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. "That was overwhelming. But you survived it. You were perfect." Min-ho pulled her close. "And now the whole world knows you're mine. I'm still processing the fact that you just announced our relationship and your love for me in front of hundreds of people. I told you I don't do things halfway. When I commit completely." Back at the penthouse, the adrenaline from the evening slowly faded. Evelyn kicked off her heels with a sigh of relief, and Min-ho immediately knelt to massage her feet. "You don't have to do that. I want to. You spent hours in those torture devices making me the envy of every man in that ballroom. Jealous much? Always. When it comes to you, I'm insanely jealous." His hands moved up her calves, his touch shifting from therapeutic to sensual. "The number of men who looked at you tonight, who imagined. They can imagine all they want. I'm only interested in one man." Min-ho's eyes darkened. "Prove it." What followed was a night of passion that cemented their bond even deeper. Min-ho worshipped every inch of her body, whispering words of love and possession in Korean and English, making her feel cherished and desired in equal measure. Afterward, as they lay tangled together, Evelyn traced the strong line of his jaw. "Your ex-fiancé was wrong about you. You're not cold or controlling. You're passionate and protective. I can be cold and controlling when I need to be. But with you I want to be soft. I want to be the man you deserve. You already are." The next few weeks settled into a comfortable rhythm. Evelyn threw herself into establishing the charitable foundation, discovering a passion for philanthropy she hadn't known she possessed. Min-ho supported her completely, giving her free rein while also being there whenever she needed advice or assistance. Their relationship deepened as they learned each other's rhythms and quirks. Min-ho discovered that Evelyn was grumpy in the mornings until she had coffee, that she sang off-key in the shower, that she loved old movies and terrible puns. Evelyn learned that Min-ho was secretly sentimental, that he collected first-edition books, that he had nightmares about his father's death that only her presence could soothe. They were happy. Deliriously, impossibly happy. But happiness, Evelyn was learning, was often temporary in Min-ho's world. Started with small things. Phone calls that made Min-ho tense. Meetings that ran late into the night. Security that was inexplicably increased around the penthouse. "What's going on?" Evelyn asked one evening after Min-ho returned from yet another emergency meeting looking exhausted. "Nothing you need to worry about. Just business complications. Min-ho, we promised no secrets. What's happening?" He was quiet for a long moment, clearly debating how much to tell her. Finally he sighed. "There's been talk of a hostile takeover attempt. Some foreign investors are trying to buy up enough shares to force me out as CEO. Can they do that?" "They can try. But I still control the majority of shares, and I have the board's support. It's going to be a fight, but I'll win." "How can you be so certain?" "Because I always win. And I have too much to lose now to let anyone take what's mine." But the situation escalated quickly. Anonymous articles started appearing in business publications questioning Min-ho's leadership. Rumors spread about financial irregularities. Investors grew nervous. And then someone leaked information about Min-ho's past. The deals he'd made, the alliances with questionable people, the gray areas he'd operated in to build his empire. This is a coordinated attack, Min-ho told his inner circle during an emergency meeting at the penthouse. Evelyn sat beside him, insisting on being part of the discussion despite his initial resistance. Someone wants to destroy my reputation to make the takeover easier. Do we know who's behind it? His lawyer asked. I have suspicions, but no proof yet. Min-ho's jaw clenched. We need to move fast. Start damage control. Reach out to our allies. And find out who's funding this attack. The next few days were brutal. Min-ho barely slept, working around the clock to save his company. Evelyn did what she could to support him, but she felt helpless watching the man she loved being torn apart by faceless enemies. Then came the bomb. A tabloid published photos of Min-ho from years ago, meeting with known criminals. The photos were real, taken during his darker days when he'd been building his empire through any means necessary. The implication was clear. Kang Min-ho was not the legitimate businessman he pretended to be. This is going to destroy everything, Min-ho said, staring at the article with hollow eyes. Years of building respectability, gone in one publication. We'll fight it. We'll explain the context. There is no context that makes this okay, Evelyn. I met with those people. I made deals with them. Everything they're accusing me of is technically true. But you've moved past that. You've built something legitimate. Have I? Min-ho's laugh was bitter. Or have I just gotten better at hiding the darkness? Evelyn grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. Listen to me. I know who you are. Not who you were 10 years ago when you were desperate to survive, but who you are now. The man who established a charitable foundation. The man who treats his employees fairly. The man who loves me with his whole heart. That's the real you. What if the real me isn't good enough? You're more than good enough. And we're going to fight this together. But the attacks kept coming. Shareholders started selling. The stock price dropped. Whispers of a vote of no confidence from the board grew louder. And then the final blow landed. Someone leaked information about Evelyn, about her past relationship with Marcus, about her previous jobs, about the fact that she'd moved in with Min-ho shortly after starting at his company. The implication was obvious. She was a gold digger who'd seduced her boss for money and power. Evelyn read the article with shaking hands, fury and shame warring inside her. Every private detail of her life was laid bare for public consumption, twisted into something ugly and mercenary. I'm so sorry, Min-ho said, pulling her into his arms. I should have protected you better. Should have seen this coming. This isn't your fault. Whoever's doing this, they're targeting both of us. Which is why I'm going to end this. Tonight. Min-ho made a call, speaking rapid Korean that Evelyn couldn't follow. But she caught names, heard the steel in his voice, saw the cold fury in his eyes. What are you planning? To remind everyone why they should fear crossing me. He kissed her fiercely. Stay here. I'll be back soon. Min-ho, wait. But he was already gone, leaving Evelyn alone with her racing thoughts and growing dread. Hours passed. Evelyn tried to sleep but couldn't, her mind spinning with worry. She was pacing the living room when the penthouse door finally opened. Min-ho entered and Evelyn gasped. His face was bruised, his knuckles bloody, his expression haunted. What happened? Are you okay? I found out who was behind everything. Choi Tae-won decided to try one more time to take me down, using more subtle methods than before. Min-ho's voice was hollow. I convinced him it was a bad idea. By beating him up. By showing him I still know how to fight dirty when I need to. He sank onto the couch, suddenly looking exhausted. It's over, Evelyn. The takeover attempt, the leaks, all of it. Choi will pull his investors back and issue a public apology by morning. How did you manage that? By reminding him that I have just as much dirt on his family as he has on me. And by making it clear that if he ever comes after you again, I'll destroy him completely. Evelyn knelt in front of him, her hands gentle on his bruised face. "You can't keep doing this. Fighting everyone who threatens us. It's going to break you. I'm already broken. You're the only thing holding me together. Then let me help carry this burden. Stop trying to protect me from everything. Let me be your partner in all of it, not just the good parts." Min-ho pulled her up into his lap, holding her close. "I don't deserve you." "Yes, you do. You deserve all the love and happiness in the world. And I'm going to make sure you get it." They sat like that for a long time, just holding each other, finding comfort in the connection between them. Outside, Seoul glittered with lights. Inside, two people who'd been through fire together chose to keep building their future. The next morning, as Min-ho had promised, Choi issued a public apology. The tabloid articles were retracted. Investors regained confidence. Slowly, the storm began to pass. But the experience had changed them both. They'd seen how vulnerable they were, how easily their happiness could be threatened by external forces. "I have a solution," Min-ho said over breakfast a week later. "It's drastic, but it would solve a lot of problems." "What kind of solution?" "Marry me." Evelyn nearly choked on her coffee. "What? Marry me? Not someday in the vague future, but soon. Next month, if possible." Min-ho took her hand, his expression intense. "As my wife, you'd have legal protections. Your position would be unassailable. No one could paint you as someone I'm just playing around with. That's possibly the least romantic proposal I've ever heard." "You're right. Let me try again." Min-ho stood, pulling a ring box from his pocket. He knelt before her, his eyes shining with emotion. "Evelyn Brooks, you've turned my entire world upside down in the best possible way. You've made me laugh, made me feel, made me want to be better. I can't imagine my life without you in it. You're my home, my heart, my everything. Will you marry me? Make me the happiest man alive. Give me the honor of being your husband." Tears streamed down Evelyn's face. "Yes. 1,000 times yes." Min-ho slid the ring onto her finger, a stunning diamond that caught the morning light and scattered rainbows across the kitchen. Then he was kissing her, deep and claiming, and Evelyn forgot about everything except the man she loved. The next month was a whirlwind of wedding planning. Min-ho insisted on the best of everything, while Evelyn tried to keep things somewhat reasonable. They compromised on a ceremony that blended Korean and Western traditions, intimate but elegant. Evelyn's family flew in from the States, and Min-ho's mother, who'd been surprisingly warm after the initial announcement, helped coordinate everything with military precision. The wedding took place on a perfect spring day, cherry blossoms blooming around the traditional hanok where they'd chosen to have the ceremony. Evelyn wore a beautiful hanbok for the traditional Korean ceremony, then changed into a white gown for the Western portion. When Min-ho saw her walking down the aisle, his composure finally cracked. Tears streamed down his face as he watched the woman he loved coming to join him, to promise forever. "You're so beautiful," he whispered when she reached him. "I can't believe you're mine." "I can't believe you're mine," she whispered back. The vows they exchanged were simple but profound. Promises to love through good and bad, through storms and sunshine, through whatever life threw at them. Min-ho's voice shook as he spoke, emotion overwhelming him. "I promise to protect you, cherish you, and love you every day for the rest of our lives. You've saved me in ways you don't even understand. You're my miracle, Evelyn. And I will spend forever grateful that you chose me." When the officiant finally pronounced them husband and wife, Min-ho kissed her with such passion that several guests had to look away, moved by the raw emotion on display. The reception was joyful and loud, a celebration of love conquering all obstacles. Min-ho never left Evelyn's side, his hand always touching her, his eyes constantly seeking hers across crowded rooms. "Happy," he murmured during their first dance. "Incredibly, impossibly, perfectly happy. Good. Because this is just the beginning. We have a whole lifetime ahead of us." 3 months later, Evelyn stood in their bathroom staring at a pregnancy test with shaking hands. 2 pink lines stared back at her, clear and undeniable. She was pregnant, carrying Min-ho's child. Her hand went to her still flat stomach, wonder and fear mixing inside her. They'd talked about kids, of course, but she hadn't expected it to happen so soon. "Evelyn." Min-ho's voice came from the bedroom. "Are you okay? You've been in there a while." She opened the door, the test still in her hand. Min-ho took one look at her face and went still. Are you? He couldn't seem to finish the question. "I'm pregnant. We're going to have a baby." For a moment, Min-ho just stared at her. Then his face broke into the most brilliant smile she'd ever seen. He swept her up in his arms, spinning her around, laughing with pure joy. "We're having a baby. Oh my God, Evelyn. We're going to be parents." He set her down gently, his hands immediately going to her stomach with reverent care. "There's a tiny person in there. Half you, half me. Our child. Are you happy?" Evelyn asked, needing to hear it. Happy doesn't begin to cover it. I'm ecstatic, terrified, grateful beyond measure. He kissed her softly. "Thank you for giving me everything I never knew I wanted." The pregnancy was smooth, Min-ho hovering constantly and driving Evelyn crazy with his overprotectiveness. He insisted on the best doctors, the best prenatal care, the best of everything. He read parenting books obsessively and talked to her growing belly every night. "He's going to be spoiled rotten," Evelyn said, watching Min-ho arrange the nursery for the 10th time. I have a feeling. Mother's intuition. She was right. 7 months later, on a snowy December evening, Evelyn gave birth to a healthy baby boy. Min-ho cried when the doctor placed his son in his arms, overwhelmed by the tiny perfect life they'd created together. "He's beautiful," Min-ho whispered, his finger stroking the baby's impossibly soft cheek. "He looks like you. He has your nose. Perfect. A strong nose for a strong boy." Min-ho looked at Evelyn with eyes full of love. "Thank you. For him. For everything. Thank you for fighting for me. For never giving up even when things got hard." They named him Kang Ji-hoon, meaning wisdom and brightness, hoping he'd embody the best of both his parents. As Evelyn watched Min-ho cradle their son, whispering promises and love in Korean, she thought back to that first moment when she'd fastened on Marcus's necklace, never knowing it would trigger a chain of events that would change her entire life. She'd found love in the most unexpected place, with a man who'd been both her boss and her salvation. They'd weathered storms, faced enemies, and come through it all stronger. And now they had a family, future, a love that had conquered everything thrown at it. "I love you," she told Min-ho, reaching for both of them. "Both of you. My whole world." "We love you too," Min-ho said, his arm wrapping around her shoulders, completing their circle. Forever and always. Outside, snow continued to fall over Seoul, blanketing the city in white. Inside the hospital room, a new family began their journey together, built on passion, protected by devotion, and bound by a love that nothing could break. The story that had started with jealousy over a simple necklace had become an epic romance, proving that sometimes the most intense love stories begin with the smallest spark. And sometimes, the most powerful man in Seoul just needed the right woman to show him that vulnerability wasn't weakness. It was the ultimate strength. Min-ho pressed a kiss to Evelyn's forehead, then to his son's, his heart so full it might burst. "Thank you," he whispered again, "for saving me, for loving me, for giving me a reason to be the man I always wanted to be." "You saved me too," Evelyn replied. "We saved each other." And in the quiet of that hospital room, with their son sleeping peacefully between them, they began the next chapter of their extraordinary love story. One that would be filled with laughter, challenges, growth, and above all, a love so deep and true that it would carry them through everything life had in store. The end.